Out of nowhere, one of the most exclusive car brands on the planet found itself in a very public war of words with a British YouTuber who learned mechanics in his dad's garage. Bugatti, a company that sells hypercars for millions of dollars and guards its brand like a state secret, suddenly had to address a content creator on social media. And weeks later, that same creator went out and bought a second Bugatti. So why does a company worth billions appear rattled by a man with a spanner and a camera? Let's find out. In October 2025, Armstrong heard about a crashed Bugatti Chiron per Sport sitting in Miami and immediately booked a flight to see it in person. Most people would scroll past the listing. Armstrong packed a bag. The car belonged to Alex Gonzalez, an American content creator known online as Fexalex. The Chiron per Sport was one of only 60 ever produced. Introduced in March 2020, it was a handling-focused variant of the standard Chiron, featuring 65% stiffer front springs, 33% stiffer rear springs, a revised transmission with closer gear ratios, and a raised engine redline of 6,900 revolutions per minute. It weighed in at just over 4,000 pounds and carried a starting price of €3 million. In good condition, these cars change hands for between $4 and $6 million. Gonzalez's car had absorbed a serious frontal impact. Airbags had deployed, carbon fiber panels were cracked, the iconic horseshoe grille was destroyed, and the headlights were shattered. When Armstrong arrived to inspect it, the damage looked even worse in person than it had in photographs. Bugatti sent a factory technician from France to assess the car. That technician declared it a total loss. From there, Bugatti took a step that almost nobody outside the brand would have predicted. They locked the car's VIN number, meaning no authorized Bugatti dealer anywhere in the world could sell replacement parts for it. If Gonzalez wanted the car repaired through official channels, there was one option: send it to the factory in Molsheim, France, at a cost of approximately $1.7 million. Gonzalez declined. Bugatti later reduced the estimate, but he turned that down too. His concern was straightforward. Once the car arrived at the factory, Bugatti would begin stripping it apart and keep finding new problems, with the bill climbing higher at every turn. It was a risk he wasn't willing to take. What came next was remarkable. Gonzalez issued a public ultimatum on social media, giving Bugatti 24 hours to unblacklist the car or he would 3D print every component himself. Most brands would have ignored it. Bugatti CEO Mate Rimac responded with a direct message within that window, opening with the words that he was the Bugatti CEO, before explaining why 3D printing structural components was not a safe solution. The gearbox housing had shattered, and the carbon monocoque had sustained structural damage. Those are not problems a desktop printer can solve. With the blacklist still in place and no official support forthcoming, Gonzalez brought Armstrong in to attempt a private rebuild. What had started as a salvage project was now something much larger. Armstrong flew to Miami, inspected every inch of the damage, and got to work. A single video about the part's costs pulled in 6.8 million views in 4 days. The numbers that emerged were genuinely staggering. Headlights quoted at around $58,000 each, the horseshoe grille surround approaching $93,000, each carbon fiber fender estimated at around $200,000, and a full transmission replacement pushing past $185,000. And none of that included labor or structural work. With official parts unavailable, Armstrong declared that his team would fabricate or source everything they needed through other means, including CNC machining and 3D scanning. When it came to airbags, the team discovered that certain Bugatti components shared part numbers with airbags used in the Audi A3. Rimac later pushed back on that, arguing that similar part numbers did not make the components interchangeable and that installing the wrong airbag in a Chiron could have serious consequences. When Rimac stepped into this story publicly, he did so on Instagram, and the video was watched by millions of people who had never previously thought about how a Bugatti gets repaired. Rimac acknowledged that he followed Armstrong's content and respected him as a creator. He said he would personally be happy to support the project as a fellow car enthusiast. But then he drew the line on behalf of the company. The reasons he gave were not simply corporate policy, they were engineering reality. The Chiron per Sport is built around an 8-liter quad-turbocharged W16 engine producing approximately 1,479 horsepower. The car uses a carbon fiber monocoque chassis, not just a body panel but the structural spine of the entire vehicle. When that structure sustains damage, the implications extend far beyond what is visible. Rimac noted that only a very small number of people in the world had the training required to safely separate the rear subframe from the monocoque, and that performing such a procedure incorrectly had serious safety consequences. He also addressed the gearbox. What Armstrong's team initially believed was a hairline fracture in the transmission mount turned out to be two large tears. The gearbox mount in a Chiron is engineered deliberately to break in a crash, redirecting force through the car's structure to protect the occupants. That design choice means even a modest impact can snap the mount. A specialist welded the component back together, a repair that many engineers argued should never have been attempted on a part specifically designed to fail in a controlled way. Beyond the structural concerns, there was the matter of brand perception. Armstrong's videos were pulling in tens of millions of views. Every frame of a disassembled Chiron in pieces, every moment where a component was sourced from an Audi, every clip of a welded gearbox mount, was being watched by an audience that had never set foot in a Bugatti showroom. For a brand that depends entirely on an aura of perfection, that kind of exposure was deeply uncomfortable. While still deep in the Chiron rebuild, Armstrong was approached about a Bugatti Veyron sitting with a repossession company. Originally built for the Dubai market, it came with no documentation, no service history, and no indication of what was wrong with it. He bought it on the spot. The Veyron is significant in its own right. Only 450 were ever produced, and current values sit above £1.5 million. Despite the unknown history, the exterior was clean, the interior was intact, and crucially, the engine started. The problem was that it would not drive. Specialists had quoted as much as £350,000 for a full gearbox replacement. Armstrong diagnosed the fault and found the culprit, a blown fuse. He drove to Halford's, bought a replacement, installed it, and the gearbox faults cleared entirely. But the more revealing moment came when Armstrong contacted Bugatti about sourcing parts for the Veyron rebuild. The answer was identical to what he had received during the Chiron project. Bugatti would not supply parts to anyone outside their authorized service network. The policy, it turned out, was not a reaction to the drama or the viral videos. It was a consistent, company-wide position, applied across the entire brand regardless of model or circumstances, and it is stated plainly on Bugatti's official website. What Armstrong had done, across both projects, was pull back the curtain on how an ultra-exclusive brand maintains its mystique. He showed his audience what the inside of a Chiron actually looked like. He demonstrated that certain airbag part numbers were shared with an Audi A3. He proved that a gearbox fault in a multi-million-pound Veyron could be solved with a fuse from a mainstream parts shop. None of that undermines the genuine engineering achievement those cars represent. But it does challenge the idea that only Bugatti's own authorized network has the knowledge or the right to touch them. Matt Armstrong, a mechanic from Leicester who used to ride BMX and fix cars in his father's garage, turned a wrecked Bugatti into the most discussed automotive project of the year. And then, just to make the point, he bought a second one. Bugatti's next move remains to be seen.